Hello and welcome to the Thousand Tales podcast. I'm your host, Conor Logan, and I'm happy to have you here today for a special episode. Now, while we all may not have celebrity lives, we all have extraordinary portions of ourselves, aspects of our life and our history, where we went, how we ended up where we are now, that are special and unique and need to be told and shared. So, with that in mind, I have a dear friend from high school, Dr. Maura Dawgert, who lives in Portland, and I understand that's not in my local area, but there's no one closer to my heart in medicine than my wife and my good friend, Maura Dawgert. So have a good listen as we talk about high school and moving out west, experiencing new ways of living, coming across things that we never thought we'd come across. Enjoy. FaceTime Maura Dawgert.
Making a FaceTime call to Maura Dawgert.
Hey, Conor.
Maura Dawgert.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Good, that was perfect timing. I just ran out to get some logs for the fire.
Nice.
For fireside chat.
They're big, they're heavy, they're wood.
That is true.
That's right. Do you remember do you know what I'm referring to?
No.
Did you ever watch Ren and Stimpy?
I never watched Ren and Stimpy.
They had a jingle. It's log, it's big, it's heavy, it's wood. It's log, it's better than bad, it's good. And my favorite one is they went, new invisible log, it's just not there. That was a personal favorite. Well, thank you for joining me on the Thousand Tales podcast.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
All levels look good. This works out really well over Zoom. I've got this little setup dialed in, and it ends up sounding like you're right here with me. So,
awesome.
Yeah, wait until you hear it. You'll be like, wow, that sounds nice. Good.
Cool. How are you?
I'm good. I was thinking today because bad weather is hitting the Poconos and the Scranton area like right now. They're getting like hammered with like ice and stuff like that. And I thought I thought it was like, what was the worst part of the drive home from school if weather was bad? And I remember a couple of times like getting to school and it would be raining and the temperature dropped and then it was just ice because you and I both lived, at much higher elevations than Scranton. And so, like, I was trying to think, I was like, what was probably the worst part of trying to get home for you? And because I was thinking about it for me, there's, like, definitely two spots that were terrible.
For me, it was definitely going up the Morgan Highway.
Yes, I bet.
Yeah, and I would often go through Clark Summit, do you remember the Notch?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
yes.
I would go through the Notch. I remember being a little sketchy too, but I would drive through Clark Summit instead of through downtown Clark Summit in that area instead of going through the Morgan Highway.
Yeah.
I actually got in a really bad car accident on the Morgan Highway one time on black ice.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Was that going to school or on your way home or?
It was going to pick up. I was going to pick up Missy Dolak to go to Jen Garrity's house.
Look at that.
Jen Grippy, not Jen Garrity at that time.
Jen Grippy.
And it just changed really quickly, and it just turned to black ice. And my car totally spun, did a full 360 and hit a railing. And then my parents came to get me because I was only like a mile from the house. And I called them, of course, because I had one of those my dad had one of those bag phones.
Yes. Oh, we had a bag phone.
Yeah.
AudioVox.
AudioVox. And he would always have me take it when I went out at night if he wasn't on call. And so I had that with me. So I called them and they came. And as they were walking up, they heard another accident and thought it was me. And I've never seen a look like that on my like parents faced before. You know,
Wow.
they were so scared because they thought they like heard another act, like heard me, a car hit me basically.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow. That's gnarly.
yeah. Luckily, I was fine. There was no one else involved, but I definitely learned about black ice that day.
I had black ice coming down the hill by Sugarman's.
Oh my gosh, sugar.
Yes. I was coming
Yeah.
from, what's the next town past there? And so it's like after Sugarman's, it's German, I think. And so I was coming from German back towards Scranton. And there's that hill that comes down. At the bottom of the hill, you can make the left in to go to like the Dollar movie theater.
Yeah.
And then Sugarman's was just after it. And there's like, it's that long, low hill. And I remember just hitting ice and there was a car in front of me, and I did everything I could. I was in my little white Geoprism hatchback, and I went over and I boom hit the guardrail and had to get the car fixed. Bummer. But yeah, for me the worst was because like we had bad spots out in the Poconos on the way back. You get off at 191 at exit 5, and then you'd come down this little dip and have to go up this long hill, and I remember just thinking that I was like, I would try to take the tougher routes home when it was bad weather, just because I thought I was a badass, you know, and and I just got totally like stuck. Like I couldn't get up the hill. I had to like figure out a way. I had to, because there was no. It was really bad. I had to. It was like got halfway up this steep hill, and I started sliding backwards. And I basically had to pull one of those like stunt driver maneuvers where like you spin the car around and start driving the other direction, you know? And I like pulled it off and like went down the hill and everything. It was like doing it all in like slow motion though, because I was sliding, you know? And I just like just barely like got it right, and then got back to the freeway and went around to 507 and came back. That's funny. Yep,
Yeah.
they're all dealing with it now. And my mom called me earlier today and like, oh, that's going to be bad. My sister, like Bridget, took her daughter down to go to a soccer tournament and drove all the way down to Downingtown for it and got it all set. And then, of course, they canceled the whole thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's the whole city of Portland is shut down right now because of
Oh, really?
snow.
It's bad up there, too?
Yeah, I mean, we just don't have the infrastructure for snow. So, you know, where we grew up, like, people salt the roads and
Yeah.
there's a gazillion plows and all that stuff, and there's just not that here. So there's probably like, maybe I'm looking at it right now, there's probably like 4 to 6 inches out there.
And people are losing their minds.
But it's just, you just can't, it's just solid ice. I just went cross country skiing through the neighborhood, which is so fun. It's like
That's
my
super
favorite thing
fun.
to do. Yeah.
Oh, that's really fun.
But it's just like, yeah, it's like even the main roads, there's like probably a good like inch or two of just ice, you know?
That's awesome. Do you
Yeah,
get to
but
do you get to do that like once a year? You know,
Once
there's
a
like
year.
like a snowstorm in Portland.
And everyone's inner child comes out.
Yeah,
Like adults
sledding.
are like sledding down streets, and it's so fun.
That's awesome. What car did you have in high school? You didn't have a Volvo. Did you have an old Mercedes? You did have a Volvo.
I had a Volvo.
You had an 860, I think, wagon or something.
I did. I had 2. So I had earlier on. I had like a red wagon, and then I had a gold 240 Volvo.
Yes.
Man, I wish I still had that car.
That thing was sweet.
That was an awesome car. It was
Yeah.
stick shift because my dad wouldn't let us get our license until we learned to drive a stick.
I was the same way.
Yeah.
We were allowed to take the test on an automatic, but we had to learn on a manual.
Yeah. I think that's a great rule.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's probably why we keep a manual car. It's like it's paid off, and I'm just like, I'll just keep this. Sonia will drive in 9 years or whatever, and that'll be her car. You know, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
She'll
Yeah.
love it. She'll rip around in that little like Ford. It's a little Mazda 3 hatchback. It's awesome, and it's fast, and it's a stick, and she can drive through the canyons, and she'll be very careful. Yeah. She's outside right now, mask on, with her friend Ellie. She's like the one kid in the neighborhood. We've like merged our bubbles, and they go around. And now like we're now comfortable with just saying, go outside and play. And she's at
Yeah.
the age where it's like been a few months now where we're like, that's fine, go outside and play with Ellie. And they'll just like roam around the neighborhood and do whatever, and they know to stay in the neighborhood. But we've got a good, safe neighborhood, and she understands where we live, and she knows how to get back to the house and all that. I got to make sure she knows our phone number. That's probably a good thing. I should do that.
You could make it a song.
That's right. That's right. I'm not going to sing it right now.
Connor, when you grew up in the Poconos, did you have like neighborhood kids that you could just like go over and play with, or were you guys too far out?
Well, the answer is yes and yes. So you were so far out that whatever kids were around, you made sure to maintain good relationships with, because there were not that many options. But like I remember my first like really close friend was the girl on the next property, on the Biscardi's property, Tavi Peters, and I remember I think she actually I actually went to a couple dances with her at Wall and Paulpack while I was at prep, and
Was she at your wedding?
no, Tavi was not there. Who you're thinking of is probably Jessica Seagraves.
Okay.
And she lived down in Newfoundland, which was the big town near, but that was like, just 3 or 4 miles away. Maybe when I was like 12 or 13, it was close enough that I could sneak away on my bike and ride my bike down there. But when you're a little kid, you just go with the houses nearby. So Kenny Quackenbush was my best friend growing up, and he moved away when I was in middle school. But the guy down the street, Mike Jantz, was my best friend, and he was best man at my wedding. He's still my best friend. He lives 20 minutes from me now still. We both moved out to California together and were each other's first roommates out here. And I don't know many people who are still best friends with their first friend. And Mike Jantz is like the first time your parents say, yes, you can go over to that kid's house. Mm-hmm. That was Mike Jantz when I was like 4 or 5, and we're still best friends. That's pretty cool. You appreciate that more and more and more, as time goes by. And we talk to each other about it. Like probably twice a year we have a conversation where we're like, how cool is that? Like when we go into like all these old memories or just how cool that is. I remember he worked at my parents' inn, at the Sterling Inn, all through high school and in middle school. We washed dishes together, and then he was a busboy, and then he was a waiter, and then he was a waiter at the French Manor. He was a killer waiter. And everybody would get pissed because he'd always like double up whoever had like the second most tips that night. He'd have double that because he was just so personable and friendly, and everyone loved him. And I remember when he left to move to California, he never told me this until a long time later, but he came by to the Sterling Inn to get like his last paycheck and stuff, and my dad like came out and was talking with him, and he gives him like $100 bill, and he goes, put this deep in your wallet, kind of in that pocket that you don't access and stuff like that, and he's like, this is for absolute emergencies. When you're down to your last bit of money, this is what you pull out to help, get a tow or fix something or whatever it is. He's like, I hope you forget that you have it in the wallet or something, that kind of conversation. And it was like, I don't know, it was only just a few years ago, or maybe he even still has it. I don't know. I'll have to check in with him about it. But he like pulled it out of his wallet and showed it to me. It was definitely after my dad passed. So he had it in his wallet for, I don't know, at least 15 years, and kept that $100 bill from my dad.
It's really awesome.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. I look forward to the day where I do that for, some neighborhood kid or one of my own kids. I'll definitely do it for my own kids, of course, but because that's just a cool dad thing. But, there's a kid down the street that I think is probably a candidate already, Yeah.
Why is he a candidate?
Because of this jam, the last year, the COVID Smile Jam. When we started doing it, his dad got to me on Nextdoor and said, hey, I'd love to come jam my son